Hey everyone! So when you are thinking about the variety of funding vehicles for your organization, the traditional ones that most of us think about involving are equity and debt, or borrowing money. There is a third category that includes elements of both equity and debt. I call these hybrids. As a reminder, equity funding consists of receiving resources today, but trading away a portion of ownership in your business. And debt involves receiving capital today but having to pay it back at a predetermined strict timeline that can put limits on the growth and flexibility of your business. So let's turn to hybrids with a couple of examples. Starting off, we'll talk about something called convertible debt. This is essentially debt, except whoever lends you the money has the option of converting the loan to equity at some later date. This sounds great for the lender, but what's in it for you, the founder and principal owner of the business? First, let's say you want to borrow $10,000 for your business, and the lender is going to charge you 10% interest a year, plus you need to pay the loan back 5 years from now. You approach the lender with the idea of convertible debt, and the lender is intrigued. In most cases, lenders think first and foremost about decreasing risk and protecting their money. So they'll have you sign an agreement limiting the risk of the money. For example, they may tell you that you cannot merge with another company, pay dividends, or split your company into pieces without getting their permission. They may also make you keep a certain amount of cash on hand, even if you need it to pay for something for your business. Why does the lender think like this? Because no matter how well your business performs in the future, the lender doesn't get any more than the 10% interest and the repayment of the $10,000. Simply put, there's no upside potential, only downside risk for the lender. So how does convertible debt change all this? Simply speaking, the lender gets something in addition to the loan and now has a vested interest in the upside of your business. Because they now have the possibility of participating in the upside, they may be amenable to a lower interest rate in the meantime. So instead of a 10% annual interest rate and repayment of the $10,000 in 5 years, the agreement may be to, for example, pay only 6% annual interest. So right away, you're reducing the fixed cost to your business. At some point over the next 5 years, though, the lender has the right to convert the loan into shares of equity at a predetermined rate. For example, you might specify in the agreement that the lender can trade the $10,000 loan for 8% ownership in the business, anytime within the 5-year horizon. If the conversion happens, you no longer have to pay interest, nor do you have to repay the principal, but you will take on another owner who is formerly your lender. How is this good for you? Think about it from the lender's perspective. The lender will only convert the loan over to equity if your business has become more valuable and is succeeding. And if that's the scenario, you'll be doing well too, so it becomes a win-win situation. At the end of the day, from your perspective, with convertible debt, if your business is growing more slowly than anticipated, then you'll have a loan but at a much lower rate of interest than the traditional debt rate. And if your business does better than expected, then you'll be doing better and so will your new owner or partner. Finally, for convertible bonds, sometimes they're created so that the debt and the conversion feature can be separated. For example, you may have a loan of $10,000 with a 6% annual rate of interest. Then you give the lender something called a warrant that allows for new shares of equity to be created, but the debt doesn't disappear if that happens. And the warrant can be sold to a third party by the lender. So here's how it might look. You borrow $10,000 at 6% interest per year for 5 years. The lender also gets the warrant that allows the lender to invest another $10,000 later for, say, 6% equity in your business. But the lender does not have to invest in the business if they don't want to. And the lender can take that warrant and sell it to someone else. It's similar to convertible debt in some ways, but the existence of the warrant makes it somewhat unique. Now on to the second example of a hybrid form of financing called preferred equity. This one is actually a little simpler than convertible bonds. For preferred equity, someone would provide you with money, and in return, you provide them with a fixed rate of return each year. That's it. Let's say you and I decide that I provide you with $20,000, and you pay me a rate of return of 9% per year, or an annual payment of 9% times the $20,000, or $1,800. To be honest, many of these payments are made quarterly, so let's call it $450 every 3 months. The $20,000 does not have to be paid back, but instead the owner of this preferred equity can sell their preferred shares to someone else who may want a cash payment of $450 every 3 months. Note that preferred equity does not represent ownership in the business, so you're not diluting ownership by granting preferred equity to someone. But since it doesn't need to be paid back, it feels like equity. The $450 payments need to be made every 3 months, so it feels a little like debt too. Also, most preferred equity arrangements are what's called cumulative. This means that if your business is running low on cash because you're busy trying to grow, you can choose not to make the $450 payment that quarter, but then you need to add that payment to another future payment. In other words, you have the flexibility to delay these quarterly payments. So not quite like debt, but not quite like equity either. These are the two most common forms of hybrid financing techniques: convertible debt and preferred equity. There are others that are variations on these as well, such as preferred equity that can get converted over to common equity or ownership. Not surprisingly, this is called convertible preferred equity, which is also likely to be cumulative. That's quite a mouthful, but now you have a good introduction to hybrid forms of financing.